Hey there, it's your girl Deetra Trueheart with another Tuesday Tea with D. And so I am your life purpose generator, purpose provoker, and I Speak Life mentor, which from Trueheart Speaks Enterprises and the hashtag I Speak Life movement. Here just to give you another nugget to help you get out of your own way and get to the business of living. And today's nugget is know your limit. And so if you are signed up for my weekly emails, then you know I started off writing, but if you know anything about me, you know that speaking is my thing. And so I decided that until I want to change it up, I'm probably going to do a weekly video called Tuesday Tea with D. And so again, today's conversation is about knowing your limit. And why do I share that? I think it's important because in this day and age, with what we have going on in our country, you've got to know your limit. You've got to know when enough is enough. You've got to know when to pull back. You've got to know when to take a break. You've got to know you enough to know when enough is enough. And I feel like sometimes we push and push and push and push and push and push to the point of exhaustion, to the point of burnout, to the point that, you know, we almost have like nervous breakdowns, like we're doing way too much. And I want you to know yourself enough to when you know that enough is enough. I have a limit, a people limit. And so most people who know me know that I'm pretty outgoing. I'm pretty, like, you would think that I'm an extrovert. I think I'm an extrovert, but I consider myself what they call an ambivert. And so I have extrovert and introvert tendencies. And so I can be out and about and I can be around folks, but at home, I like to stay to myself. I like to, at some point, you'll notice if I'm in a large group, if I disappear, I've met my limit. Point blank, period. My cup is done. I've given all that I can give, and it's now time for me to go. If I'm no longer talking, I've met my limit, right? And so you've got to know yourself enough to know your limit. You've got to know yourself enough to know when enough is enough. You've got, even in relationships, right? And so many of us don't know our limit. We don't know when enough is enough. And we don't know how to advocate for ourselves to say enough when enough is enough, right? And so I want to encourage you this week to pay attention to your limit. Pay attention to look back over time and pay attention to when it was too much. Pay attention to when you said, you know what, I should have said something, or I should have sat my tail down, or I should have rested, or I should have pulled back, or I should have gone into my prayer closet and I should have refueled myself spiritually, right? Knowing yourself spiritually, right? Knowing your limit at that point where you give and give and give and give, you pray and pray and pray and pray, you pour out, you pour out, you pour out, but you never allow yourself to be poured back into. And that's even personally, you know, whether, you know, if you are someone who is in the helping industry and so you continue to give, but you would never allow yourself to be poured back into, you never allow yourself to be restored, you never allow yourself to be refueled, you never allow yourself, you know, to be re-energized. And so if you don't know your limit, then you'll continue to, like some people, drive their cars on E and forget, and then all of a sudden run out of gas, and then they got to go get the gas can just enough to fill up until they can get to the point where they can actually fill up. And many of you, my goodness, that's what you're doing. And so many of you don't know your limit, and so you keep driving until you get onto E, and then you've got just enough, a little gas can of gas to fill up to get you where you got to go, but you never go to fill up all the way. You'll go and you'll fill up just enough just to get you to where you need to be, just to get you to the point that you need to get to, but you never fully fill up. You never fill up till you're in overflow. I want to encourage you to stop doing that. I want to encourage you to take a moment to pay attention. I don't care how long it takes. It may take a day. It may take a week. Ask God to reveal to you moments where you knew you were at your limit and you ignored it. You knew you could feel yourself at that limit and you ignored it. I'm so grateful that I paid attention to that. Back in 2015, I was at that point. I felt it. I knew it was there. I knew that I had to shut some things down. And so I had to have a conversation with God and say, okay, how am I going to do this? How am I going to pull back? How am I going to shut everything down? How am I going to just feed myself and do what I know I need to do for me? How am I going to do that? And the crazy thing is God said, you just got to do it, and you can't worry about what other people are going to think. So that's the second piece, right? Pay attention to what your limit is. Pay attention to what you're feeling. Pay attention to those seasons that you're in. But the second thing you have to do is stop caring about what other people think, right? And I may have to do a whole nother message on that. But for the sake of knowing your limit, when you know your limit, you can't worry about what other people are going to think. You can't worry about what other people are going to say. You can't even worry about how other people are going to respond, because at the end of the day, your sanity, your survival, even your ability to thrive is not contingent upon other people's opinions, beliefs, or statuses or anything. It's based upon you making a decision for you. So know your limit. Pay attention. Go back and pay attention to when you ignored the signs. Pay attention to maybe when you paid attention and what happened on the other side of that. Stop worrying about what people are going to think. Stop worrying about what people are going to think. People are going to think whatever they want to think regardless. Right? And as I talked about last week, like, they're going to look anyway, but make sure you give them something to look and not look away. That's another, you need to go back and check out last week's Tuesday with T if you had Tuesday Tea with D if you didn't check that out. But stop worrying about what people are thinking. And then the next thing that you just need to do is you just need to take action. Pull back. If you need to, cut off the television, stop watching the news. If you need to stop listening and talking to certain people, if you need to stop going certain places, even if you're at work and you need to separate yourself from the crowd, like you can't not go to work and you can't not, but you cannot be around those people, right? You can decide who and what you're going to listen to, right? Pay attention to the music that you're listening to. Pay attention to the things that you're reading, that you're depositing into your body and into your spirit, into your mind, into your psyche. That stuff has an effect. Right? And so pay attention to all of those. Shut that stuff down. Cut off social media. Right? Cut off the things that you need to cut off in order for you to fill your tank. Stop waiting until the last minute and be intentional about filling your tank before you need to fill it. My dad, God bless his soul, will not let his tank get below a half a tank of gas. He will not do it. And I think because there was a situation where he ended up either almost running out of gas or running out of gas, whatever the case may be. But listen, honey child, he will not. When I say not, if that tank gets below anywhere between half a tank and 3/4 of the tank, he's freaking out. He's going to fill that tank up. And so many of us need to take that as a life lesson, to pay attention to when, right, knowing your limit and paying attention to when you're at about halfway, maybe 3/4 of the way, like that tank is going down. And you're like, you know what? I need to take some time to fill it back up. And here's the thing. Don't rush it. The same amount of time that it took for you to drive it, it may not take for you to fill it up, because, right, we can go to the gas tank and we fill it all the way back up. But take some time. Don't rush the process of filling up. Sometimes it takes a little bit of time. Sometimes you may need to sit and hold the pump and watch the gas fill up, right? You can't just hit the little button and go sit in the car and move on. You've got to be in the moment. You've got to be present. So for this week, for this Tuesday Tea with D, I want you to pay attention to what your limits are, right? I want you to go back and think about that. I want you to stop worrying about what people are thinking, and then I want you to do the work. Like, I want you to go and I want you to fill your cup if that's what you need to do. I want you to know what your limit is, and I want you to not be afraid of doing what works for you, period. So I hope that this was helpful for you. I hope that you got something out of this. And if it's helpful, I'd love for you to join me in my Facebook group, the hashtag I Speak Life Society. It's a free Facebook group for women of faith. No matter where you're finding this, if there's a space below for you to type in comments, please share with me how this resonated with you. And more importantly, let me know how you are going to pay more attention to knowing what your limit is. Okay? So I will see you next time for the next Tuesday Tea with D. I'll see you soon.